Has education helped you in your real estate career?
Once you're educated and once you have a vocabulary of talking to people, you eventually understand what are the trends in the market.
I believe education is not a one-time job, it's repeated over and over again.
In your education institution, you have a teacher who teaches you everything. You feel that your father is going to be a teacher and going to teach you everything about the business. No, it doesn't happen that way.
So, you have any interest in other sectors of your family business?
Well, I am always interested in everywhere where the family money goes.
It always takes time for someone who is new in the business to drive change.
This generation gap is nothing more than idea of perception to problems, idea of perceiving the markets, and that luxury is only with family business.
A small discussion between Western suburbs and South Bombay's development.
Western suburbs and South Bombay in a way are similar because there is a wave in this entire country for better living. A person would rather, stay in a Mahalakshmi posh building rather than staying in a 50,000-60,000 rupees per square feet Walkeshwar area.
What is the future potential of Mira-Bhayander?
MMR has always kept Mira-Bhayander out of their reach. But we as developers of Mira-Bhayander has always sold our properties saying that this is a part of Mumbai.
Redevelopment hasn't started there in Mira-Bhayander yet. Do you see that happening soon? Hello everyone, welcome back to Speaking Real Estate podcast. Today with us we have three guests from three different micro markets and our third generation in their family business. Today's discussion is going to be revolving around their experience in joining their family business, the difference in thoughts between two different generations, and how the two different generations are collaborating and making a difference in the industry, and how particularly these three guests are from three different micro markets: Central Mumbai, South Bombay, Western Mumbai, and the Eastern Bombay. So I'm glad to host all of you here. Just a small brief, Mr. Jesal Ajmera from the Ajmera Cityscapes, and their family business is into various verticals: pharmacy, hospitality, and as well as broking as well. Then we have Mr. Anuj Goradia from Dosti Realty, doing major and renowned work in the central Mumbai and also a few particular micro markets in other areas of Bombay. Then we have Mr. Ashish Sanghvi, who is a part of the Balaji group and his new firm which he is going to take forward, Jai Tirupati Group, and doing renowned work, done 75 plus projects in the Mira-Bhayander area. So we'll start off our discussion with about how what all your education was and what got you interested into the real estate industry. First, we can start with Jesal bhai.
Well, I studied commerce from Jain College, and I went ahead to do law from KC Law College, and the primary reason that I joined real estate was my proximity to my mentor, who is my uncle. Since childhood, I was quite close to him. I used to look up to him as an inspiration. And eventually, when I got an opportunity to explore my career, I joined him. I learned all that he did when he started his business. It was quite exciting. In fact, law was an complementing subject for this entire business, and that's how I went ahead and I studied law as well, and that's about it. I got here.
Has education helped you in your real estate career?
Well, education definitely helped me with my understanding, with taking a more pragmatic view where the real estate industry comes. And also it helped me accelerate the change and the transition of making a brick mortar company into a technologically advanced company. Once you're educated and once you have a vocabulary of talking to people, you eventually understand what are the trends in the market. And you may be doing very well, but if you don't change, then maybe without any mistake of yours, you sort of fail in the new changing world. So I think education helps there in transitioning and accepting the new trends and being able to accept what the new world has to offer.
your family business has various different verticals and are working in various different sectors as well. So, you have any interest in other sectors of your family business?
Well, I am always interested in everywhere where the family money goes.
Definitely.
But yes, hospitality was started as a passion to serve guests. We had very humble beginnings with one resort in Matheran, and eventually we grew. Today we have about 500 keys. We are in Goa, we are in Matheran, we are in Panchgini, we are in Mumbai. Financial services, it all started with having a mindset to invest into the share market, and eventually getting knowledge about it, getting opportunities to become a principal broker. We grew. Today we have a lot of financial services under one roof. And again, pharmaceuticals was an opportunity that came through financing, and eventually we ventured out, and today we have a good pharmaceuticals portfolio. We have a good trading portfolio. And I think being a prudent businessman, if you're in the market, opportunities are there. You just tap them and the way opens up.
Jesal bhai, we'll come back to you and would like to go ahead with Anuj bhai. What was your education and why did you choose to enter the family business and not pursue something else? And how education helped you with your journey?
Sure. Thanks once again for having us. I pretty much post my schooling, I completed my, I would say, 12th in Bombay, after which I moved on to the States. I did my undergraduate in civil engineering and a minor in environment engineering. And I was at Penn State University for about 4.5 years. Post having been there and done both a major and a minor, I came back to Mumbai. I was always in a dilemma to choose to stay for a few years in the US, work there, or come back to India and learn. But then after having explored multiple job opportunities, it made sense to come to India, where you could get a accelerated growth path, and possibly after doing a master's in the States, then you can work there at a more senior level and play similar roles to what you play back home as well. And immediately after coming back, I wasn't really sure what to do, what not to do. So just decided to start going to sites, and that got me going, because having a degree in engineering, sites was the first thing I was keen to explore, be it the foundation, superstructure, any mechanical work for a RMC plant or pump set, tower crane operations. And day by day, my interest grew more and more in the business. So it was more of a decision which I chose to pursue more and more. However, in the future, we would like to expand to other ancillary businesses that are similar to real estate, but not on the same course and same revenue path as real estate. And lastly, from an education point of view, I'm a strong believer that having a good education, be it anywhere in the world, creates the basic foundation for you to grow in business, network with peers and colleagues. And even when you are hiring people from top caliber B schools, be it in the country or internationally, they need to have someone to look up to, more of a mentor. If they see that their manager, their HOD himself is educated, then they would value their education a lot more. However, I believe education is not a one-time job. It's repeated over and over again. Trends and industries go on changing. We are lucky that we get time, we can take off some time from work and do small programs, be it at the IIMs or ISBs, or there are some programs internationally. And I make it a habit, maybe every once in 3 to 4 years, take a short break from work, spend a few days learning and come back to work.
Definitely, I feel. Thank you for explaining how education is also so much important, and every day is a day where you have to learn something new to be relevant and also come out at the top. Ashish, we are coming to you. What was your education? How is it helping in your business, and how is your career path been till date?
Yeah. So I've completed my graduation in Bachelor of Management Studies from HR College, and after completing that, I pursued my masters in International Management from King's College London. And of course, like how Anuj said, even I was in dilemma: should I stay in UK, look at the property markets, because like real estate is in my blood. And since childhood, I knew that I have to enter the real estate business. But I thought that, maybe I'll explore the UK market, maybe understand the international dynamics part of the market, and then enter. But it was lucky for me that COVID happened. And my thoughts were very simple, that I have to go back to my family. There were many restrictions around, and it was like a euphoria at that moment. And after coming back, so I was in the midst of completing my dissertation, COVID, and at the same time entering my business as well. So the process was very challenging because it was because the university life that you are there, you need to complete the dissertation, and the resources are much more easily accessible. Coming back here, it was a difficult task to complete them, but somehow I did manage to complete it, and seeming that real estate, it was the only option that I had in my mind since my childhood. I knew I have to enter the same, and I've seen my family business grow to a level where in the Mira-Bhayander, where there were like hardly 5 developers, max to max 5 cars, to what today is, where there are multiple developers, 2 roads getting jammed, trafficked because of cars. So I've seen the whole transition of the area's development. And after looking at that, I think I'm very fortunate enough to be in the same market and looking forward to expand there and outside the same as well.
Best of luck to you and hoping the best for your
Thank
company
you.
as well. So coming to another part of the discussion is where nowadays, me being in the 20s, so I've witnessed that people always have a view that don't you want to explore something else for a few years, and then if you don't find your path over there, then join the family business. And I'm not very much well versed that anybody should just explore just because you have a settled family business, and people saying that you are not self-built, so you should try something else. You should try to build something on your own and then join the family business. So since everyone has different reasons, different opinions, but all of us landed in our family business, and it does give some boost and acceleration to our career as well. So I want you all to share that why shouldn't a guy or a youth go and experience that their family business and join that very business on the day itself, and how it will benefit them in doing that thing in the first place.
Well, I believe that one should take off some time post college, do something on your own. Not necessarily you have to be successful. What I would believe is that you have your family business for the rest of your life. And once you get pulled into it, gripped into it, it's very difficult to take a step back. So the right time or the most ideal time to take a step back would be post-graduation, to try and do something on your own, be it for a year or 2 or 3, and you get to know the outside world. You get to understand best practices, be it in consulting or construction or real estate finance, how maybe a Fortune 500 company works. Granted, all of us aspire to create that same culture in our organization, but once we actually experience that culture, driving that same culture back in India, back in our companies, is a lot faster compared to hiring outside talent and expecting them to drive it in your company when you yourself haven't experienced that. So I would say would have liked to spend a few years outside the business and then having joined the business, but didn't have a chance to do that. But I would recommend to today's youth that you should spend a few years doing something different. It should not be linked to your business at all. And then your family business is there for you, as in when, if there are other restrictions like a aging family structure where you're required to join, that's a different scenario. But if you have that liberty, then would recommend you spend a few years outside and then come and join the family eventually.
Well, in my case, I would like to answer this question with a very personal experience. Joining family business, taking some outside exposure is a very nice concept. But I would like to talk more about a business family. So, joint family business is one thing, and a business family is another thing. When you are a part of a business family, your education towards business starts from very early years. Even as a child, you go to your father's office, you look around what's happening. There are very small lessons that you pick on the way while growing up. Eventually, as early as possible, if you start experiencing the business affairs, they may be confused at first. It is all a lot very confusing of how things happen in your business family. But eventually, after asking questions, after understanding the concepts, after having things crystal clear, you have a much wider and a better platform to climb upon your ladder of career, ladder of success. It becomes very, very smart to start climbing from that platform, because once you do that, you can boast of being part of a more maturely aged company in the future. Imagine your grandfather may have put the stepping stone. Your father may have used that stepping stone and platform to grow to wherever he is. And when you want to grow further, the company that you're working for has aged almost 35 to 40 years, which is a very similar example in my case. So your company is so mature. It has grown with some values. It has grown with some deliveries. It has grown with some brand value. And when you're taking things ahead from that platform, you're creating something so sustainable, so timeless, that maybe when my kids will grow up, they'll be part of a brand which has almost more than 75 years, 80 years of experience, existence, and trust. Making a decision whether you want to join family business, you want to try and experience something on your own and then join family business, is a very welcoming individual concept. But in the case that you are as lucky as being a part of a business family, then definitely you should focus into either some kind of an integration of your own family business or joining and taking over some responsibility of your family business. But as long as you're focused there, you are much likely to go towards success than doing it by yourself. I'm sure every individual potential and every person is special, and I'm sure they will succeed even if they do something by themselves. But if you focus your energy into one direction, if you're a big family, and if all have synchronized energies, you can create something so nice, so sustainable, so timeless. You'll be really leaving back something very, very special for your next generation.
I feel we've got both the point of views, and both of them have their advantages and disadvantages, definitely. From doing something of your own to know cultures of another company, having learning about the environments that are working outside different than your company can help you bring in some good things in your company if you build something of your own and do something by other than. Another point of view is that you get a very fast and a good stepping stones to climb easily, and you can get a boost in your career when you join your family business. Ashish bhai, I want to direct another question towards you, where you are your family business, knowing a few little things about that. Your family is very big and you have entered the family business in a stage where it's too diversified in terms of the members it's having. So how is your experience at the point of time that you are becoming a part of it, and what differences you have seen in your earlier generation, and how do you see further ahead you taking care of it?
Of course, our family is very big, and the family businesses are now being operated and handled by the elderlies only. And we as the next generation are having a very limited role in the same. And that's because, of course, of less experience. And also because the next generation of everyone is not coming in the same business. So somewhere down the line, they have a little fear in their mind. What if like the whole burden comes on him? He has to be the server for the whole family. That's not fair. So for the same sake and for the betterment of the business, what everyone thought, by our fathers, they thought that, it's better that we start different verticals within the each family and give them a different market where they can flourish and expand and create their own niche or competitiveness in the market and thrive. So that's one where we've now started with the Jet Tirupati group, and that's again, so we've got the Mira-Bhayander Market, and we are majorly focusing on the same for the next 3 to 4 years. And there's always going to be a generational gap whenever any next generation that comes into the business, and that's obviously because of the market dynamics that were there when our fathers used to do the business and which are right now, and also the way that they've been brought up, how we've been brought up, and a lot of differences with the things that were around there and now. To the crux of it, I can say that their experience and our knowledge can be a very good help, hand to hand, to give a very good head start for the business against the competitors and take the legacy on another level if the next generation is really willing to do so.
You very well said, right, about how the knowledge of yours, considering it will be relevant to the current trends and your current knowledge in terms of having that exposure also about with your education, which our fathers couldn't have, and the experience that our father carries could be a very powerful combination to perform. I want you to elaborate the differences that would be there in terms of the two different generations, and you have experienced those in the few years that you have in your business, and what things you think should be taken care of to overcome those differences and work together.
Well, to be honest, when I entered my family business, it was during the COVID times. So I was, not able to much grasp the organizational structure that was going on at that time because the office were not functioning fully fledged. And neither I was getting a field experience of the construction sites and all. So it was all about me, my dad, and the team that were, able to come into the office, sitting and discussing about our past, how the company was formed, the future, legacies, values, and all. After a point of time, I thought that I'm bonding very well with my father into the business and our thoughts align. But slowly and gradually, I realized that I am, bringing many concepts into the market, from the market into the business, which he's not able to comprehend and like, and he's always against it. And my approach towards that was like, why is he not understanding? Because I know that this thing is going to work in the market right now, and I'm confident enough. But then I thought that, it's very difficult to, just try to explain them in a very casual manner. So I then tried to change it like a sales pitch. I used to get all the facts, information, data, and researches done, and then used to present him in a proper manner, have a brief discussion about the same. I try to now explain him why we need to do this, what's the benefit, and what if, even if we fail, how can we mitigate the risk if we go in a wrong direction in terms of sales or planning or all the verticals of the real estate industry. So now I'm getting that better understanding of how their generation works, what their understanding is, and to explain what I want and what changes I want in the organizational structure, the coordination between the departments, and many other things to be established and executed in the businesses, because it has to come via them only. It's very early for me to take those changes and call in the business. So once, I'm now, when I'm able to explain it very well to him, now those changes are being seen in the business, and I feel that that's the best way for a third generational owner or, the next generation to have and make their previous generation understand about how the markets are changing or about the dynamics of the market that is going on in the current scenario.
We'll move to Anuj bhai. What was your family business scenario when you were starting to become a part of it? Any differences you saw when your organization was operating and you thought that something had to be incorporated for the betterment of the organization?
Well, definitely I've faced similar experiences to what Ashish has faced as well. And it always takes time for someone who is new in the business to drive change. Not only say with your own parents, but also with employees who have been there with you for the last 25 or 35 years or so. And they may take you not so seriously, but you should not give up. I have personally pursued with them multiple times, over 5, 6 times. And if I see value in it, I try it at a rather small scale at one site, and then you can implement the same across the company. But we have seen that don't get demotivated the first time when you want to bring a change. Say, for example, we were operating on a very old legacy ERP software, and my plan was to modify that, bring in a more formal software, bring in Salesforce for planning sales. It took us a lot of market research, give them data about other competitors and peers in the industry, how are they operating on their processes. And once you're able to get one assignment done in a positive manner, then the amount of trust and faith grows on you bit by bit or so. It has been a challenge, no doubt, but communication, strategizing, and coordination would be the most important thing what we got to do as second or third generation family entrepreneurs to pass new concepts into the family business.
I feel very important point that was laid out in the very first answer that you said was the employees which have been a part of the business since 25, 30 years, and when we are entering, our age is like 20, 25 years. And for them to maybe listen to us is a very, not anything to say badmouth them, but they are coming from certain amount of experience and they expect that they have earned a certain kind of reputation and a living at the organization. And again, then to listening to a young boy who is half of their age and at the age of how many years of experience they are having. So how do you tackle to such kind of situation?
The key word is patience. You have to be patient. You have to recognize their efforts. You have to recognize their experience and their contribution to your company. You cannot take it for granted at any point that you're in the family business and it belongs to you. As long as you have that very much clear in your head, your big small mistakes get forgiven and eventually you are very well accepted. They both have explained this problem quite fairly. It's a problem which is faced in every family. You cannot run away from it. You have to very patiently overcome it over a period of time, over a period of maturity. It does get overcome. But you shouldn't be anxious enough to not address it at all. Address it time and again, patiently, as Anuj Bhai very well explained. Address it at smaller levels, eventually go in for the bigger changes, and it happens. Our previous generation has seen very different problems than what we have seen. We may have experienced very different nuances. And believe me, our next generation will have very different problems. And at some point, we will be emulating our first generation when it will come to changes. So it is also our responsibility to have an open mind to our next generation and to very patiently bridge the gap. This generation gap is nothing more than idea of perception to problems, idea of perceiving the markets. If you have enough patience, if you have enough communication with your previous generation, believe me, you can overcome these problems.
Very rightly said. One thing I would like to add is what I learned from someone is that no matter what your age is, but if you are able to provide value to the table, your age won't be a matter that will affect people.
Absolutely. And that luxury is only with family business.
So, Jesal bhai, how was your experience when you were starting to become a part of the business?
Well, as I said, early years, we used to go to office on Diwali and we used to look around. we used to look around that on such an auspicious day, our employees are being treated so nicely, becoming a part of the puja, having to get out for dinner. They are being treated just as a extended part of the family. So that was a valuable lesson. My elder generation, my father, my uncles, they had a very disciplined routine to go to office. So that was again another lesson, that they had the urge and the ambition to go out and work. None showed any behavior of being laid back or lazy. So that sort of, we could see that if they are giving some importance to that place, that means they have some kind of ambition, some kind of fire in them to go out and work. And comparing the decisions that they took rather at our age, we sort of realize that they had so much of prudence and so much of maturity in their decisions, because they had all chances to fail also. They had all options of taking the wrong decisions. And unfortunately, so many of their age and their generation took them. Please have a pragmatic view of the market that you're in, and please look around your peers, your friend, your father's peers. Many of them ended up taking bold decisions in their youth, which did not work very well now. But your father took very sensible decisions. Your family took very, very conservative decisions that worked in your favor. So when you assess how they did it at my age, like even back then he was 35 and he had the option of taking some decisions, but he didn't do that. He took the correct call. So that teaches you that, okay, accept their experience, understand from where they're coming from, look at their perspective, then maybe adjust yourself with the current market trends, communicate with them of what is working, what's not working. It's difficult. It's you try it on your own or you join your family business. Unless and until the dedication doesn't come from within, you don't succeed at any. So it's difficult. It's a task. But eventually things come around. As long as your focus, you're conscious, and your efforts are clear, you don't fail. In a family business setup, certainly you don't fail. And just one last thing to add up. I had always mentioned the difference between family business and business family. So when you're a part of a business family, a lot of your communication happens around the business and around current affairs, which makes things easier. Rather than things being difficult, it makes it easier. Like, I am sure on the day of budget, the dinner conversation between Anuj Bhai and Deepak uncle would have at least some communication about the indexation that was announced. That indexation is reduced and flat 12.5%, and there were some consequences relating to the business would happen. So when you're in a business family, all communications that round up about the current affairs, they expand your thought process. So eventually things become easier for you. Believe me, if your focus is at the right, if you pick up the right points from communication, even if it be an argument, but if you've picked up the right point, things come around to you.
Definitely. I want to emphasize and want to talk more about communication, how important it is. And also, as well as along with that, one more point of discussion would be, whenever you are joining, all the set of duties are being taken care by the elderly people, and they are taking care of things from A to Z. How do you see entering, or what is that point of entering? How do you take more responsibilities, and how do you become a part of it? How do you venture inside the family business and become a part of it?
Well, I would suggest that, to answer your question, it all depends a lot on how large your existing team strength is, how many HODs does your business have in place? And maybe if in a smaller entity where one man is handling tons of things and they see you're able to take good mature decisions, it depends a lot on his or her openness to allow you to swim in the ocean. You may drown, you may swim. It's a open world, but they have to be willing to give you that confidence and support from the back end that you decide I'm there with you. Whereas if you're entering into a large conglomerate where there are systems, processes already in place, it does get a lot difficult. But there as well, there are many examples across the world. Say how possibly in a company like Wipro, how Rishad Premji has been groomed to enter the business when the business was extremely established, and still he entered as a junior management trainee, and gradually over 15-20 years he worked his way up the business to eventually come on the board of the company. So it's either a quick succession or a time-driven succession, which depends on how large your business is. And there are challenges in both aspects of work. But end of the day, you got to face things, as Jesal mentioned, take things patiently, go on harping on your point in a consistent and patient manner, and eventually you will get more accepted into the business.
Ashish bhai, would like to add on.
Yeah, sure. So, a common perception or a common thought that, every next generation owner that enters in the business is that he'll be hand-held and taken through all the departments by his father, and he'll be explained by his father what this department does. And, he'll be like a education part, like how you, in your education institution, you have a teacher who teaches you everything. You feel that your father is going to be your teacher and going to teach you everything about the business. No, it doesn't happen that way. You have to enter the business in a manner where you have to drill yourself in every department on the lower level and understand every dynamics about the department, so that once you are in the board of directors panel, you know how the departments work, where their drawbacks are, how well to coordinate them, so that, because ultimately your team's success is going to drive your business success. And that can only happen with open communication. And communication is actually the utmost important thing. You have to be very clear, delegate the responsibility, hold them responsible, and also give them motivation at the same time, so that every employee knows, it's because of them that the business is now going on another level. So even they are a part of your success story, and they have to be made believed that they were and they are.
Rightly said. I would want to take the discussion now to the particular micro markets that you all operate in. Would want to start with Anuj bhai, and along with that, want to start off with your company background, how it has evolved with time. And Dosti Realty is one of the good companies performing in the market, and especially in the central Mumbai, how your company has placed the company in the market and what is the way it operates today.
Sure. So we were as such established in the early 1980s by my grandfather. And by the end of 1980s is when my father and his cousin brothers chose to enter the business. Gradually, from doing one building every 3-4 years, my family chose to enter into large organized factory lands. And our forte over the years has been to buy land parcels from factories who had been forced to move out of Bombay. For example, we have dealt with ACC India, or we have dealt with the Mafatlal Group in Shivri, and we even dealt with the CK Birla family in Thane. After having taken over their factory lands, luckily factory lands are always a good sized land and well shaped land where you can plan a project in a neat and organized manner. That's when we then chose to get into large projects, be it in Vadala, Shivri, Sion. We were able to deliver jobs such as Dosti Acres, Dosti Flamingo, Dosti Elite. At the same time, a lot of industries were being shunned out of Thane as well. That's when we chose to enter the Thane, Kalwa and Kalyan market. So we further purchased a couple of factory lands. At the same time, we even chose to enter a lot of farmland at the outskirts of Thane. So pretty much our forte and structure has been to acquire lands using your own cash flows from past projects. And recently we've expanded, not recently, but more than maybe 12, 15 years ago, we have been partnering with multiple banks as well and dealing with them jointly to acquire lands and give both of us a good return. So currently we are, I would say, delivering more than 16 to 18 million square feet right now. And with the market sentiments and dynamics being on a positive side, we are aggressively scouting more and more opportunities, be it across MMR, not restricting ourselves to only the western central suburbs, exploring opportunities, be it in Pune, in Alibag, in Lonavala, and other micro markets.
How has these markets been 10 years ago, Thane market or the central Mumbai market overall, and what kind of returns these markets have given in past 10 years?
If we go step by step, we talk about the Thane market first. I remember when I used to visit our clubhouses or construction sites more than 15 or 10 years ago, the main highway, which is today Ghodbunder Road, was a very 3 to 5 meter kacha pakka highway. It was pretty much you enter Thane at the check naka and you go to your site that's more than 8 to 9 km inside Thane. Now what we're seeing is that Thane as a market has evolved drastically. Every nook and corner, every factory has been bought by some developer, some mall developer, some school, some commercial giant. And as you enter Thane, you have Wagle Estate, that's a hub of BPOs and commercial offices and back offices across India pretty much. As you drive further on to Ghodbunder Road, we had done a project called Dosti Imperia. Besides Dosti Imperia, in towards Pokhran Road number 1 and 2, we developed Dosti Vihar, which is a complex of more than 1,800 apartments over 12 acres. And currently our biggest job going on in Thane are Dosti West County and Dosti Greater Thane, each of them being a large organized community living of more than 100 acres each, where we plan to deliver more than 25 to 30,000 homes across that project. And our philosophy and our belief has been that compared to doing a integrated township approach, we would like to subdivide this 120 to 130 acres into multiple pockets of 10-15 acres and give each pocket its own independent community. Each zone will have its own club, its own pool, its own areas where youngsters to adults can enjoy thoroughly. Coming to the central market, we believe that one of a specialty of most developers is to enter areas that have no significance, no importance, and change them into something fabulous. So how we were able to enter Vadala, which was a challenging area back in the day, but after having been there for 7 to 8 years, we transformed the area entirely. And today also people can't imagine that there is a residential holistic living happening in this part of Vadala. Say we even hear about sometimes in New York City where they have Hudson Yards. Hudson Yards is a impressive development made above the railway tracks where nobody used to visit. But today it's a nice and swanky area with commercial offices, malls, residential developments as well. That's how developers operate across India, or particularly in Mumbai as well, where we enter into unknown areas which possibly don't have pin codes and give them its own identity. The next question you asked is in terms of returns, how have the markets been? And returns are always, I would say, a factor of time. A lot of other factors, be it the market sentiment, the global economy, the stock market influences how your project fares. We had seen back in the day, we had begun sales at 1950 rupees a square feet. And that same apartment is now possibly trading at more than 35 to 40,000 a square feet. Dosti must have sold at a price of 1950 to possibly 8,000. But the buyers whom bought with us, they could sell their property at 25, 30,000. And what has helped us build that goodwill is not only that we could have a good return on the project, but even our buyers whom wanted to exchange and go to a new location after a couple of years had a appreciation similar or better compared to what Dosti got back in the day. Now for the last 6-7 years, the markets have gotten a lot more competitive and challenging. We look at real estate more as a FMCG business with a heavy focus on services. The returns have dropped, the margins have dropped, but the volume has increased drastically. What other developers are achieving in markets of Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune is gradually coming to Mumbai and MMR. So maybe we're operating at sub 25%, sub 20% margins on a net surplus point of view, compared to a earlier margin of anywhere between 50 to 75 or even more at times. But we have learned that we need to do a larger volume of work in one go, need to manage more resources, more projects. And ultimately, you're able to achieve more than what you could do in the past, but having spread out your hands drastically.
They beautifully explained the past appreciation that has happened in the central Mumbai, particularly Thane, and how the infrastructure has changed and the kind of returns it has given to you while you're completing your projects, and also the buyers that had bought house in your apartments. The kind of model that Dosti has been operating since past few decades has been mainly acquiring land and developing them. It's since these past recent years that the availability of land in Bombay is less. That's why you all are venturing into other redevelopment and cluster kind of development portfolios as well. But I would want you to give a few ideas or learnings about various land acquisitions, that problems people might face, or how you should pursue a land acquisition.
Sure, certainly. So it's a very challenging topic, and especially in our
Most
country.
of it is a trade secret.
Correct.
I want those trade secrets.
We have seen that whenever you get into a decision to buy a new land, be it a factory land, a society, or a slum project, your title and due diligence have to be top notch. You have to work with the best of the best lawyers, advocates, solicitors. And on top of them, you have to also be personally involved, do your own homework, understand. I would say, deal with two kinds of lands. One would be factory lands that we have acquired over time. They are marginally simpler compared to acquiring farmlands, what we do in Thane and beyond Thane. Typically in a factory, you have that trust and faith on the factory owner. And even for him to put up a factory and a plant there, he would have ensured his title is clear. There are no encumbrances from the previous landowners, which once you do your thorough homework, you are good to go. But when you deal with certain farmland in pockets of Thane and beyond Thane, one land which may not be more than even 50 or 70 square meters has more than 20 owners. And you need to have a thorough land and development team who are actively engaging with the families, engaging with multiple generations, sisters, cousin brothers, fathers, different people in the family who have a small part of that land ownership. And you need to do a thorough homework. You need to thoroughly introspect the land parcels, see all the sadbaras that have been, identify each and every person in that land. Definitely things can go wrong, and you need to take a very conscious and well-driven thought and then decide whether you want to enter into a particular land or no.
So acquiring a mill land or a factory land is comparatively easier. Obviously, it's a difficult task, but relatively easier compared to when you are joining up various lands and maybe acquiring that 100 acres of land that you all have done. Understood. Would like to come to Jesal bhai. Your developments are in Western suburbs and South Bombay. I would want you to the kind of potential right now Western suburbs has, because it is kind of having much more development and returns, I feel, compared to the other remaining parts of Bombay. and maybe a small discussion between Western suburbs and South Bombay's development. Starting with Western suburbs.
Western suburbs and South Bombay, in a way, are similar because there is a wave in this entire country for better living. Post-COVID, the entire country has seen people introspecting their surroundings, having an urge to have a little better lifestyle. And this goes for even someone staying in a 1 BHK, a versatile 400, 500 square feet house. And it also goes for somebody who's living in about 3,000 square feet house. Everyone suddenly had an urge to have a better surrounding, have a better building, and everyone started scouting for good residences because the entire current in the market post-COVID drove a lot of flat buyers to come to the developers. They were not those investors or informal financiers who came out and started investing. It was the actual flat buyer who started coming and purchasing. So, in a way, Western suburbs and South Bombay has the similar spirit of living in a better environment. But Western suburbs, there is a luxury of planning. Contradictory to the plots that we have in South Bombay, planning is very challenging. And it also gives rise to a lot of unique ideas by the architect. But yes, planning is a little challenging in South Bombay. Having said that, there are some plots in South Bombay or some areas in South Bombay which really have a very strong urge to enter into a very luxury segment, convert their housing society into a luxury segment because being part of a posh locality, they do claim that they have a fancy pricing. Say a Walkeshwar would fetch you about 60,000-70,000 rupees a square feet, a flat in Walkeshwar. But if you look at the condition of the building, it doesn't do justice. A person would rather, stay in a Mahalakshmi posh building rather than staying in a 50,000-60,000 rupees per square feet Walkeshwar area. So everyone, all the societies out there also have a very strong urge to redevelop, and that is going to bring a lot of luxury housing in the market, and which there is a demand for as well. People are ready to spend that kind of money if they have a good, strong, futuristic, technologically advanced building rather than those old buildings with old lifts. So South Bombay has a very strong urge to develop, and Western suburbs has very maturely developed already. So that's the difference, and that's the similarity as well.
The kind of model that Ajmera Cityscapes is working on is majorly redevelopment.
Well, Ajmera Cityscapes has learned one thing, that in the real estate industry, every lock has a separate key. Anuj very beautifully explained how careful you should be while taking the title. That being said, every title story is very, very different. There are some land opportunities you get because of reference. There are some land opportunities you get because of stress deals. And similarly, every project, every development is very, very unique, very, very different. Sometimes there is a joint venture with the developer. Sometimes there is a development management model. Sometimes we are having a slum scheme. Sometimes we are having a redevelopment scheme. So we are not close to a particular format. This industry has taught us every lock has a different key, so be it. So we are open to all formats. Ajmera Cityscapes would venture into any development. But yes, we assess the risk at the very first day. As long as it is profit-making, as long as we can foresee the delivery of it, we would like to venture in it.
So one of the difficult jobs that various branded developers are there in the market, which have developed huge scales and have done huge scales of development through their land acquisition skills. But somewhere they do lack the skills of land clearance and vacating the land and getting the land ready for development. where they are open for combining hands with a local developer who has the skills of land clearance where people are habitated. And I would like you to highlight few certain things that it takes to do redevelopment, be it SRA, MADA or BMC. How do you tackle the people who are living in the household and are ready to hand over the keys to you for development?
Tackling people is one of the most difficult jobs of this industry, because people are very different and every person comes with a set of their own experiences, their own understanding, their own maybe half or full knowledge of this industry. So it's a difficult job to tackle people. And once again, I mention here, every person does not have the same solution. Every person has a different solution. Sometimes they're approached through a common friend. Sometimes a direct approach is much more appreciated. Sometimes our experience says that only listening to their problem solves everything. Some people don't necessarily look for a resolution. They just want their problem to be voiced. You hear them out. It is resolved. Some people want a very, very crisp and a written down solution. So they themselves are so particular about putting it down to paper. And so be it. So you have to be open to ideas. You have to be flexible. And you have to be like water. Whatever color people come, you have to convert yourself into that color and resolve the issue. But keep on communicating with them. Anuj very nicely said that we have a set of people who communicate with the families because there are almost 20 owners to a single plot. So here also, communication is one of the key factors. You're communicating with them, you resolve the problem. But yes, the road to resolution is different with everyone.
I feel listening to everyone and catering to their needs and communicating efficiently solves major of the
It resolves your problems with people.
Fair enough. Would like to direct to you, Ashish Bhaiya, and talk about the how Mira-Bhayander Market has been and evolved in the past few years, because the kind of development which was there earlier wasn't impressive enough for people to venture it in those markets maybe 1-2 decades ago. But right now it is also like a gold mine where various developers are wanting into venture because of the kind of returns people are expecting. So what the market has been 10 years ago or more, how is it like now, and what is the future potential of Mira-Bhayander?
Okay, so dividing the question into 3 parts. Let's start with the past. So when our business was started back in 1980s. We were fortunate that during the late 1970s there was an emergency of MISA that happened in India, and because of which our grandfathers had to come from Chennai to Mumbai in search for different opportunities. And luckily they stepped foot on the Mira-Bhayander land. During those times there were like hardly 5 developers. There were very less cars, and there were only bullock carts that used to be used for transportation there. Well, giving you a history about how development happened, any development, any city happens right beside any public transport. Mira-Bhayander was a classical case of that. The development started happening beside the railway station, the Bhayander station. So dividing Mira-Bhayander into 3 parts: Bhayander West, Bhayander East and Mira-Bhayander. So the developments were only happening beside the station. The Bhayander East was more of the industrial area. And because of the industries, they wanted now residentials as well for those laborers and people to stay nearby, so that jobs can be much easier rather than traveling a lot from different places, because during those days traveling was a bit huge difficult for them. Then gradually buildings starting coming up in Bhayander West, and then Mira Road started developing. And the similar way, that's how the development was done in the whole of Mira-Bhayander. The Bhayander West market was predominantly dominated by us during the late 1990s, where we were making a smaller community. We used to acquire land, build houses, build buildings, and we were more selling it to a particular community by making temples around. So, we knew that, giving them a temple nearby will increase the value of the land in a better manner and give us more returns. And that's how we were selling during those days. And that's how Bhayander West market is majorly of the Marwari and Gujarati community. Then slowly and gradually, since obviously a more scope comes in the picture, more profitability is there, everyone can see it, more developers venture in. Right now, the market is such that we are having more than, I guess, 100 developers in the same market. We are having tons and tons of buildings that are coming up. And at the same time, the profitability of each building is near about 30 to 40%, I can say. And that's because of the upcoming infrastructure development that are going to come up in the Mira-Bhayander Market. So, Mira-Bhayander Market, from a place where there were only a railway station which was connecting the whole of Western Mumbai, to now the upcoming metro line which will be connected via the Daisar. Then we have the Daisar Mira-Bhayander link road which will connect Borivali to Mira-Bhayander and reduce the travel time from 1 hour to less than 15 minutes. Then we are also, the municipality is doing very good jobs in developing the public amenities in small pockets. And at the same time, they are looking to venture and increase the sea transport, because we are very close to the Khari, like which connects the Arabian Sea. So they want to increase the transport so that people can take a jetty from Mira-Bhayander, go to maybe Borivali or Ghodbunder or Vasai Virar. So the travel time reduces, the cost reduces because it's the most efficient way of transport. And so because of the developments of Mira-Bhayander municipal corporations and the infrastructure developments that the municipality is doing, we are very much sure that in the next foreseeable future, for the next 5 years, the property prices are going to rise for sure by 30 to 40% in this market, because any person via railway station can go from Bhayander to Churchgate, can take a metro from Bhayander till Kolaba, Churchgate, can take a jetty, and via the link road, that is basically an extended part of the coastal road only. So the coastal road is going to start from the southern face, the northern face, which ends at Kandivali, which will be then extended to Mira-Bhayander and then ultimately taken on to Vasai Virar, and on that level. That's how the vision of the whole development process is of Maharashtra. And we are having a first double-decker metro bridge in the whole of Mumbai, and I guess second in the whole of Maharashtra after Nagpur, where basically we are having a highway, and above that we have a metro, and beneath there is a road. So the connectivity, the transport is going to be a added advantage to reduce the travel time, where is going to, bring in more consumers, more demand going to come in, which will be very easier for all the developers to sell their products. And basically, MMR has always kept Mira-Bhayander out of their reach, but we as developers of Mira-Bhayander has always sold our properties saying that this is a part of Mumbai, because of the much easier access to the transports that there were in the past and that they are going to be in the future.
You have very beautifully explained how a kind of development happens to a city and how a small town or small place is gradually developed into a city. Can you tell about how the prices were back then, 10 years ago? What are the prices right now and expected prices in future?
Well, okay, more than that, I can say that, just the gist, like during my grandfather, when he was selling, the prices would bare minimum like 100 rupees per square feet. 45 years ago. Then coming back to the question, like 15 years ago, the prices in the Mira-Bhayander market, the whole of Mira-Bhayander market were approximately 2,500 to 4,000 rupees per square feet carpet. And right now, today, the prices are somewhere in between 16,000 to 22,000 square feet carpet. Difference between the prices have increased now because of, the different market dynamics. The different developers are making different buildings with maybe a good quality or a large, bigger house, or maybe giving a different product to the market base that none of the developers are offering, and the supply is very less for that. For example, if in the luxury segment, there might be hardly 1 or 2 buildings in the whole of Mira-Bhayander in the segment which are catering to a size of, I'll say, more than 2,000 square feet with the proper hall, kitchen, and the development. So those supplies are very, very, very less. So those prices have shooted up. So that's why the price, the bracket or the discrepancy, I can say, or the vanity, it's very huge. And this is giving us a return of approximately 4 to 5 times in the last 15 years. So you can see your price have gone like double in every 7.5 years.
development in Mira-Bhayander mainly happens through land acquisition and developing those lands, right? Redevelopment hasn't started there in Mira-Bhayander yet. Do you see that happening soon?
Yes. So as I said, like it's been 50 years since the development has started. Now all of the buildings, now I can say, the whole of Mira-Bhayander development is now completed. The lands which are there are still, I can say, 20 to 30% open lands that are still there in the market, but those are the litigation. It will take approximately 5 to 15 years for everyone to clear those titles and start development on those lands. So now the next 5 years, the market competition is going to come more from the redevelopment market because of, the various schemes that have come up. And since, various incentive FSI that are going to come up in the future of the TOD, we might get more FSI that we are consuming right now. So redevelopment is going to become a very profitable, feasible product in the Mira-Bhayander market. And even in the similar way, we are also now trying to expand from the development into the redevelopment arena. So earlier we used to just buy farmlands or open lands from maybe the Kheruts or the landowners, doing our due diligence and then developing buildings on them. But since now all the whole of Mira-Bhayander is now, the development is completed, next development is obviously the redevelopment market, because that's the only way how the city is going to expand to the next level with the infrastructure that's coming in. And there's also a very huge demand for commercial spaces in the whole of Mira-Bhayander market, and that's because of so much of residences that have come up. There are hardly any commercial spaces in the Mira-Bhayander market, and because of the residences driving more public, more people are coming in, more businesses are thriving day by day. So the whole of Mira-Bhayander market need good commercial developments and, pocket commercial spaces, creating good business communities and opportunities so that the whole market can grow as well.
Fair enough. Completely understood how the transition is going to happen, as in the next 5-10 years, I feel all the lands and everything will be developed, and then it will be the time for the phase that from Borivali to the further Mumbai that it's being witnessed with these areas currently.
I'm sorry, just to add one more point to it, I forgot about the Rai Uttan area. So the metro line, which is the starts from, maybe you can say, the T2 to the Borivali and the line 7 and 2A, they are gonna go to line 9, which is extended till Mira-Bhayander. And because of unavailability of a large land parcel for them to make the metro shed, they've extended the metro from Mira-Bhayander to the Rai Uttan area and created metro sheds there. And because of that, the whole of Rai and Uttan area is what Mira-Bhayander was 20 years ago. So now the development is gradually shifting towards Rai and Uttan area, and at the same time the new DP has come in within the last it has come in the last 3 months ago, and they've now declared Rai and Uttan area as a tourist spot. We because of those tourist destination hubs now, many developers have acquired 100 acres of land over there with the foresight of the future that, when the residents are going to start, they'll be able to make triple the amount of profit that they're making right now on those lands.
You have invested over there.
Of course, we have.
So I feel we have got a great understanding in terms of the different markets of MMR, from Mira-Bhayander to the central market and the Western and the South Bombay, and also the different kind of development models from redevelopment to land acquisition, and as we'll witness a transition in Mira-Bhayander as well. And had a very insightful discussion about how the family businesses working is happening and how the generation shifts happen, and how a person or next generation when enters the business, what is the way to come and enter the business and witness, and how could you benefit from entering the family business or wanting to start another vertical or something of your own. So would like to thank each and every one of you for coming up here, sharing your knowledge on your particular models of working and your micro markets, how they are performing and what are their future expectations as well. It's a delight to have you all on this podcast, and thank you so much for becoming a part of it.
We would like to thank you in return, and we would like to wish you all the very best. You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, Jesal bhai.
Thanks, Krish. It's been a pleasure to be here and wishing you the best.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting me as well, and all the best for your future endeavors and the future education that they're gonna go forward to.
Thank you.